I told you something was coming and it's finally here. For weeks, maybe even months, there's been a growing sense that something monumental was on the horizon. Not just a minor adjustment, but a genuine turning point. And now that moment has arrived. The changes we anticipated are no longer theoretical. They're unfolding right before our eyes, impacting everyday life in real time. Today, I want to take a step back from the noise and examine what's happening not through the lens of fear, but through the perspective of opportunity, resilience, and preparation. Let's begin at the beginning because understanding the details will make everything else clearer. There's something fundamentally different about the speed of change today compared to what many of us experienced growing up. Reflecting on the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, major transformations seemed to take decades. New technologies like television or personal computers emerged and gradually reshaped how we lived and worked over 15 to 20 years. Political shifts happened slowly. Economic trends developed at a pace that allowed families, communities, and industries time to adapt. Even the oil crisis of the 1970s, considered rapid at the time, unfolded over several years. Families could switch to smaller cars. Businesses adjusted operations gradually, and government policies evolved step by step. There was breathing room, time to think, plan, and respond. Today everything feels accelerated. What once took decades now happens in a matter of years, sometimes months. It's like watching life's movie at double speed. But this isn't fiction. It's our reality, our economy, our neighborhoods, our world. Political landscapes shift overnight. Economic policies announced on Monday can influence prices by Friday. International alliances that took years to build can collapse within weeks. This rapid pace isn't just about technology, though that plays a role. It's about how deeply interconnected the world has become. A factory closure in China, a policy decision in Washington, or a natural disaster in Southeast Asia sends ripples that reach American communities faster than ever before. So, what exactly has arrived and why should you and your family care? Let's start with something that touches every household budget, the cost of living. Imagine your grocery bill suddenly rising by 20 or 30%. You wouldn't just ignore it, you'd adjust. Maybe you'd shop at different stores, choose different brands, or eat out less. You might look for extra work or dip into savings while figuring out a long-term plan. The math is simple. If costs rise significantly, something else has to change. You adapt because ignoring the problem leads to financial trouble. The same principle applies to entire countries and their economies, but on a much larger scale. Right now, we're witnessing fascinating contradictions where political promises clash with economic realities. Politicians make appealing commitments, but when you do the math, the numbers don't add up. It's like promising your family you'll cut expenses by $300 a month while planning an expensive vacation, a kitchen remodel, and a new car purchase. The rhetoric sounds good, but the math doesn't work. Here's a concrete example affecting everyone's wallet. Tariffs. Politicians often pitch tariffs as a way to make foreign companies pay taxes that protect American jobs and strengthen the economy. It sounds great on the surface, but here's the economic reality. When a company in China, Mexico, or Germany sells goods in the US, it's the American importer. Whether a giant retailer or a small business that pays the tariff to the government, it's like your neighbor ordering something online and you ending up paying the shipping fees. The importer then faces a choice: absorb the cost and reduce profits, or pass it on to customers through higher prices. Most businesses choose the latter, especially when competitors face the same costs. The result: American consumers pay more. The very people these policies aim to help: middle-class families, retirees on fixed incomes, working Americans bear the financial burden. And it's not just small tariffs on rare items. These taxes apply to goods from major trading partners supplying everything from smartphones and laptops to clothing, raw materials, and components for American-made products. The cumulative effect pushes prices up across nearly every category of goods families buy. Remember what fueled many recent political changes: frustration over rising living costs. People felt their paychecks weren't keeping pace with inflation. Their retirement savings stretched thinner. Voters wanted solutions to make essentials like housing, health care, and food more affordable. But the policies enacted to address these concerns might actually worsen the problem. It's like treating a headache with medicine that cures the pain but causes severe stomach issues. The original problem is solved, but a new, potentially worse one emerges. This isn't about politics or taking sides. It's about cause and effect. Understanding how economic policies work in practice versus how they sound in speeches. These contradictions ripple through the economy, affecting trade, diplomacy, and the daily financial realities of millions. But that's just the start. These domestic contradictions unfold amid a profound global economic shift that's been building for years and is now accelerating. For most of our lives, America and its allies have dominated the global economy. When Washington set trade policies or interest rates, the world followed. London's financial markets influenced global capital flows. American companies like IBM, General Motors, Microsoft, and Apple set industry standards. The US dollar wasn't just one currency among many. It was the primary currency for international trade and reserves. This system worked well for decades. America could run trade deficits because other countries needed dollars. The US influenced global economic policies because others depended on access to American markets and capital. But that's changing fast. You've probably heard of BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now expanded to include other major countries. When BRICS formed about 15 years ago, many dismissed it as a minor experiment. Today, it represents roughly half the world's population. Over 4 billion people living in countries coordinating their economies, trade, and finance outside the American order. Population is just part of the story. Economic growth and momentum matter more. While America and Europe struggle with slow growth, often 2 to 3% annually, many BRICS countries grow much faster. China's economy expands at nearly twice America's rate. India grows even faster. Russia, despite sanctions and conflicts, outpaces many Western nations. This isn't about rooting for one side. It's about math and reality. When half the world's population lives in faster-growing economies trading directly with each other, the global economic landscape shifts. Imagine international business as a wheel with America at the center. Transactions between Brazil and India, for example, typically flow through US dollars, American banks, and regulations. But what if those spokes connect directly by passing the center? Brazilian and Indian companies trading in their own currencies. Chinese banks financing African projects without American involvement. Step by step, a parallel global economic system emerges. This shift affects your daily life, where your goods come from, their prices, currency exchange rates, investment returns, and the assumptions underlying American economic policy. The idea that other countries will always need dollars, that American sanctions will always work, or that others will accept unfavorable trade terms to access U.S. markets. These assumptions are no longer guaranteed. What if alternatives arise that let countries do business without American approval? That's not hypothetical. It's happening now and it's accelerating. At the same time, another major contradiction plays out at home, touching both economic needs and cultural identity: immigration. Let's look at immigration from a practical economic perspective. Setting aside political rhetoric, if you've visited a major hospital recently, you've likely noticed many doctors, nurses, and specialists from other countries: India, the Philippines, Eastern Europe, Latin America, and more. These are skilled professionals who chose to build careers in America. The same pattern appears in technology, engineering, research, and other high-skilled fields critical to America's competitive edge. In many leading tech companies, 25 to 40% of engineers and computer scientists were born abroad. They came for education, stayed for opportunity, and now help maintain leadership in AI, renewable energy, and medical research. Here's the contradiction. Much political discourse calls for drastically reducing immigration, promising to secure borders, and prioritize Americans. These messages resonate with voters concerned about jobs, culture, or security. Yet, entire industries depend heavily on immigrant labor, not just in agriculture or construction, but in high-tech sectors vital to America's future. It's like wanting the best basketball team but refusing to recruit talented players from other cities. Or a restaurant owner complaining about a chef shortage while refusing to hire anyone born outside a 50 miles radius. Many skilled immigrants aren't taking jobs from Americans. They're filling vacancies because domestic education and training don't produce enough qualified candidates. They start companies, create jobs, pay taxes, and support social programs that retirees rely on. Public debate often frames immigration as a simple choice. Open or closed borders, pro or anti-immigration, American workers versus foreign workers. The reality is far more complex. We need certain types of immigration to keep key sectors functioning while managing scale and pace to avoid overwhelming communities or unfair competition. And I'm speaking about legal immigration here. Illegal immigration is a separate sensitive topic I won't address today. This tension reflects a deeper truth America has wrestled with throughout its history. A nation built by immigrants but struggling to have honest, practical conversations about immigration policy, balancing economic, cultural, and security concerns. These contradictions in trade, immigration, and global competition are symptoms of a larger historically significant challenge. They reflect the struggles of a dominant power facing a world that has changed fundamentally, often rendering old strategies less effective or even harmful. History offers parallels. The British Empire, for example, dominated the world for over a century. Its navy ruled the seas. Its currency dominated trade. Its companies led industries, and its political system inspired democracies worldwide. But by the 1920s and 1930s, rising powers like the US, Germany, Japan, and the Soviet Union challenged Britain's dominance. Britain had to adapt from unquestioned superpower to an important but no longer dominant player. The transition was difficult, involving tough choices on military spending, international commitments, and economic policy. It took decades with mistakes along the way. But Britain adapted and remains influential and prosperous today. The lesson: America isn't destined to fade or become irrelevant. That's neither inevitable nor likely. Britain today is wealthy, influential, and maintains a high standard of living without empire status. But it had to learn to succeed without dominance, changing how it approached international relations, economics, and national priorities. America faces a similar transition. Now, the challenge is that institutions, policies, and mindsets built during dominance don't adapt quickly. It's like steering a massive cruise ship. Turning the wheel takes time, and the ship may drift into unintended waters. Meanwhile, the world doesn't wait. Other countries grow, innovate, and form new trade ties. Markets evolve, supply chains shift, and new innovation hubs emerge. Change doesn't pause for America to catch up. This creates an adaptation gap, the dangerous period between global change and when a country's policies and strategies catch up. During this gap, contradictions multiply, unintended consequences rise, and the gap between political promises and real outcomes widens. We're living in that gap now, and evidence is everywhere. But here's why this matters to you. Recognizing these contradictions isn't about pessimism or fear. It's about clear-eyed realism that helps us make better decisions as a nation and as individuals. When you understand that some policies sound good but hurt your wallet, you can prepare. When you see global economic power shifting, you can adjust retirement and investment plans. When you realize immigration, trade, and diplomacy are complex, you can form nuanced views beyond sound bites. Let's bring this to the personal level. These abstract trends affect your cost of living, health care, housing, and retirement savings. If you live on a fixed income, Social Security, pension, savings, you've likely felt how even small price increases squeeze your budget. Groceries, utilities, healthcare costs rising means less money for other needs or pleasures. Now imagine multiple pressures at once. Tariffs raising import costs. Labor shortages pushing wages up, energy prices fluctuating due to global tensions. Together, they create inflation hitting retirees and fixed-income households hardest. It's not just prices. These shifts affect investments, pension stability, and the future of Social Security and Medicare. As America's economic dominance wanes, the dollar's role changes and competition stiffens, financial markets respond, impacting retirement portfolios and pensions. Housing is another example. If international investors see the dollar as unstable or USS assets less attractive, mortgage rates and property values can shift. Homeowners may see changes in net worth and estate plans. Renters may face higher rents. Healthcare costs show these contradictions clearly. Much medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, and technology come from abroad. Trade policies, supply chain disruptions, and currency swings all influence medical bills and insurance premiums. Yet, amid challenges, new opportunities arise, especially in technology reshaping industries. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, and digital communication are disruptive but empowering. Like television, personal computers, and the internet before them, these technologies initially seem daunting, but now offer new conveniences. AI helps manage finances, connect with family, access healthcare, and stay engaged. Voice assistance aids seniors with mobility issues. Telemedicine reduces travel for appointments. Digital banking offers convenience and security. Renewable energy cuts electricity costs and creates jobs. Electric vehicles promise lower transportation costs and less reliance on volatile oil markets. But technology also brings risks, hacking, system errors, and rapid change that can challenge older workers. The key is a balanced approach. Stay informed, adopt useful tools thoughtfully, and maintain healthy skepticism about hype. All these domestic and technological shifts occur amid international tensions that may seem distant but directly impact American life. Conflicts in Ukraine, rising US-China tensions, Middle East instability, they affect energy prices, supply chains, trade, and financial markets. When global conflicts disrupt supply chains, Americans face higher prices and shortages. Sanctions limit market access. Investor uncertainty shifts capital flows, influencing stocks, real estate, and currency values. Ukraine's conflict is a clear example of how distant events affect daily life here. In summary, the world is changing faster than ever. The economic and political landscape is shifting in ways that challenge old assumptions and require new thinking. Recognizing these realities empowers you to adapt, prepare, and find opportunity amid uncertainty. This moment isn't just about challenges. It's about resilience and the chance to shape a future that works for you and your family. Because I told you something was coming and now it's finally here.